trust is without borders. Let me walk upon the waters.
Good morning, everyone. Let's stand up.
Times I fail, still your mercy remains. And should I stumble again, I'm caught in your grace everlasting. Your light will shine when all else fades. Never ending, your glory goes beyond all fame. Your will above all else, my purpose remains.
hurting, broken within, overwhelmed by the weight of your sin. Jesus is calling. Have you come to the end of yourself? Do you thirst for a drink from the well? Jesus is calling. Oh, come to the altar. The Father's arms are open wide. Forgiveness was bought with the precious blood of Jesus Christ. Leave behind your regrets and mistakes. Come today, there's no reason to wait. Jesus is calling. Bring your sorrows and trade them for joy. From the ashes a new life is born. Jesus is calling. Oh, come to the altar. The Father's arms are open wide. Forgiveness was bought with the precious blood of Jesus Christ. Oh, come to the altar. The Father's arms the precious blood of Jesus Christ. Oh, what a Savior! Isn't He wonderful? Sing hallelujah! Christ is risen. Bow down before Him, for He is Lord of all. Sing hallelujah! Christ is risen. Oh, what a Savior! Isn't He wonderful? Sing hallelujah! Christ is risen. Bow down before Him, for He is Lord of all. Sing hallelujah! Christ is risen. The altar, the Father's arms are open wide. Forgiveness was bought with the precious blood of Jesus Christ. Oh, come to the altar. The Father's arms are open wide. Forgiveness was bought with the precious blood of Jesus Christ. Bear your cross as you wait for the crown. Tell the world of the treasure you found.
I take the bread
Amen. Thank you. Go ahead and take a seat if you would. And thank you, Vina, leading this team and putting this together today. Good job. Yes. So I have a special treat for you, but before we get to that, I want to just bring up again, we're in the middle of talking about Jesus this month because it's his birthday month. And we wanted to, instead of reading what other people say or what culture says or other definitions of who Jesus is, we wanted to let Jesus tell us who Jesus is. So we've been looking at his own words about himself last week, and today, one of the things he refers to himself is as a shepherd, and he actually talks about humanity and people as being sheep. Now, anybody here ever worked with sheep? Ever had sheep in your... Yeah, I know Bert has. I've talked to a couple of folks who... I worked one summer on a sheep situation in college, and I had no idea what irritating animals these things are. And the job I got that summer was they wanted to shear the sheep. They needed to cut their hair off, which, okay, fine. I've done hair thing, sure. My job was to wrangle one sheep away from the crowd, get him into this little shed, which none of them wanted to do. And when I got him there, I'm supposed to flip him up on his back and hold him down so that the guy with the hair cutting thing can come in and take it off. And I remember not being ready for it because sheep are covered in oil. I had no idea. They look all soft and they look like a stuffed animal. No. Man, you touch them and your hand's soaked with this oil that's all over their fur, and it's just, ugh. And I went in there and the guy says, grab him by the legs and flip him upside down. So, I had to put my arms under his legs and pull him up. So now I've got this oil all over me, and this thing did not want to be here, but the amazing thing is it didn't make a noise. It doesn't yell, it doesn't bark, it doesn't growl, it just wants to leave. So it's quiet. It's so strange to be wrestling with this animal, and the noisiest thing in the room is me. And not to have to worry about it, because it's not going to bite you. They got no fangs. They got no claws. They've got no defense. This is the animal Jesus chooses to compare us to. He says, the Bible says, Isaiah, all we like sheep have done what? Have gone astray. We've gone, everyone has gone our own direction. Gone astray, wandered off. So, I want to read a passage where Jesus talks about himself in this way. And if you're going to fill in the blanks in the programs, in fact, would you guys pull up the house lights a little bit so that they can see if they're doing that? A couple things I've noted in your bulletin. It says sheep get lost easily. Sheep are defenseless. They are very stubborn. Sheep are filthy. They really are. And it's interesting, it's not a compliment. I heard that earlier, that it's not a compliment for Jesus to compare us to sheep. So let's do this. I want to read in John chapter 10. Just listen along as I read this. I don't know that I gave this to you guys to put on their computer, but just listen along as Jesus talks about himself. Therefore, Jesus said again, very truly I tell you, I am the gate for the sheep. All who have come before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep have not listened to them. I am the gate. Whoever enters through me will be saved. They will come in and go out and find pasture. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. Here's what he says about himself. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. The hired hand is not the shepherd and does not own the sheep. So when he sees the wolf coming, he abandons the sheep and runs away. And then the wolf attacks in the flock and scatters it. The man runs away because he's a hired hand and cares nothing for the sheep. And again, Jesus says, I am the good shepherd. I know my sheep, and my sheep know me. Just as the Father knows me, and I know the Father, and I lay down my life for the sheep. I have other sheep that are not of this sheep pen. I must bring them also. They too will listen to my voice. And there shall be one flock and one shepherd. All right, I'm going to stop there. So Dave, why don't you come on up? And this is my friend David. He's been involved at Resonate, helps, well, he works, I forget what the age group is. Is it 4th through 6th grade? Is that right? He helps teach on our Sunday morning programs. And one of the things that the reason I asked him to share his testimony with you today is because of the life I have seen in his kids. There's a proverb that says, wisdom is proven right by her children. The children are a reflection. Now, granted, they got to make their own choices. So moms and dad, we don't have control. But you can see a pattern. And when I see kids who not only love their dad and have a good time with him, but they respect him. And I see how well his own kids are learning the Bible and seem to know the Bible. And I look at the notes on the wall and I just think, you know what? This guy's doing something right. And I was really impressed with your kids. So now he's not so great, but no, I'm kidding. That's a joke. Okay. Dave, come ahead, please. And let's give him a hand. Did I already do that? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to sit down. So you just go ahead and share your notes and thoughts and how Jesus has been a good shepherd in your life.
How's it going? So, Pastor Bill last week had asked me to come share my testimony, and I said sure. And I didn't think that I was going to realize I was going to be on the big stage till just about now. Oh. This is actually a lot bigger than it looks from back there. Okay, so just what I would like to say is that, and this will be true for all of you, but this is my story, that God has been leading me all my life, whether or not I was sorry guys, here, hold on, that's, okay. Whether or not I was actively following him or was even aware of him. I was adopted at 3 by white parents. And that was the hand of God. That was even before I even knew who God was. Okay, so to just give you a kind of an idea of what's going on, the thing was Good Shepherd. And in my life, God has been guiding and leading me from day one. There was a period in my life where I was literally an atheist. That's how mad I was at God. But he continued to lead and guide me. It was about 2 years. It was a 2-year period in my life. I was an atheist. A full-blown atheist. I could debate you to a T because I knew the Bible, because I grew up studying the Bible. There was nothing you could tell me that I could not debate with you. There was no God in my life, but God continued to guide me, even then. So, I'm going to go ahead and start. I wrote some notes. I have a tendency to be long-winded. I didn't even get through my testimony halfway through it the first time around, so I'm going to stick to my notes this time. So the verse I'm going to start with is Psalms 32:8. I will instruct you and teach you the way you should go. I will counsel you with my loving eyes on you. I was adopted by white parents, Mark and Marcia Brunel, and they literally followed the guidance of God doing that. They instilled within me the principles of Jesus. And it came to serve and assist me years later in my life. My parents adopted, there's a total of altogether, there was 16 of us altogether in my house. Several of them were their own natural born kids, but then the rest of us were all adopted. But that was a calling for them. Something they were never really prepared for or even thought was coming. But that was them following the guidance of God. I got to stay close to the mic, I know. Anyway, and because of that, it literally rescued me later on in my life. When I had left home I was a very morally centered young man. I've been raised in a Christian home. I knew the Bible. I knew what was right and wrong. I followed that. But as what happens to most young people is the ways of the world appealed to me, and I began what's called a downward spiral, slowly till I lost traction and slid. I ended up becoming addicted to substance abuse. I was an alcoholic and I was a drug user. And it cost me a year in prison. When that happened, when I got so low in my life where I had lost my wife, I had lost my 2 oldest sons, and I was doing a year in prison by myself in a state by myself. I had no family where I was at. Something happened to me at that time. The Bible talks about hiding the word of God in your hearts. What that means is to literally study, to memorize, to cultivate a relationship with God. Now, as you guys know, a relationship is something that you work on. It's not something that you just go to Sunday and pat yourselves on the back and say, hey, that was a great service, let's go home. A relationship is something, if you guys hang out with somebody and you say, this is my friend, when you stop hanging out, what happens? When you stop communicating, when you stop being in each other's presence, after a while you guys aren't friends anymore. That's the same thing that happens with God. It's the same exact thing. So what happened to me was I drifted away from him. But because I hid the words of God in my heart, when I needed him the most, he came back to me without me even realizing what was happening. I'll tell you exactly what happened. I was in prison. I was literally washing dishes. I haven't thought or spoke of God in a couple years by then. And the Bible verse, I will restore the years that the locusts have taken, came to me out of the blue. I was washing dishes. That's what brought me back. And that is because my parents, the people that adopted me, instilled those things in me. They obeyed God's guidance. And that brought me back. So I'm going to go ahead and speed forward to now because, like I said, I have a tendency to ramble, I guess the word is. So when I moved to Oregon, I ended up marrying this young woman, and we went to Texas. After I got out of prison, I stayed around Texas for a little while. I was there for a total of 5-6 years, I can't remember. I moved back here to Oregon, and I got back with my now ex-wife. We ended up separating and getting divorced. She decided she was going to move up here to St. Helens. That's where her family is from. This is where she was born, in this town. I moved to Portland. The joke was I was close enough to my kids, but I was far enough that I had a head start. My ex-wife wanted to kill me. That was the joke. So what happened was the mother of my kids ended up going back into alcohol. When this happened, I myself was in Portland in rehab because I saw a pattern emerging in my life that I knew where it was taking me. So what I'd like to do to tell the story more thoroughly is I'm going to give you some life lessons that I've learned. And through those life lessons that I've learned, I'll tell you a little bit about my most recent story, why I'm here today. Okay? First thing is remember your chains. Remember the things that pull you down, your hurts, your habits, the way you're wired, the way you're wounded, where you come from, what caused you to fall, to stumble. That's what happened to me. I was separated from my wife and kids, and I was living in Portland, downtown Portland. I was alone, and I started drinking again, even after everything that happened to me. But because God told me to remember my chains, I was able to identify where I was going, and I put myself into rehab before it got too far. I quit my job. I had a good job. I had my CDL. I was driving a CDL truck. But I quit it. I gave up my apartment. A couple people I knew thought I was crazy. Like, dude, it's just drinking. It's just alcohol. No, it was more than that. I ended up going to a place called City Team in Portland. Okay. So there I began to learn about things. Those who are in recovery will understand this. You can quit the drugs, but until you learn about yourself and what caused you to abuse those substances, you're going to go back to them. And that's exactly what I needed. I needed to learn these things. Okay? So remember your change. Remember the things that gets you to slide, to fall, to hurt. Because when those moments happen where you begin to pick yourself back up and you remember, hey, I've seen this before, you can get yourself ahead of this game and get back on your feet. And because God said, hey, David, look out. You're starting to drink again. Go do something about it. I'm right here. I'm here today instead of in prison again. You understand what I'm saying? Okay, so that was my first life lesson. The second one is a good leader knows when to lead and when to follow. I am a single parent of 4 kids. It is literally me and 4 kids. Yes, my girlfriend's over here today. Say hi, love. That's Janelle. I met her in rehab. She's a great woman.
I said I wasn't in rehab.
No, she wasn't in rehab. Okay. Anyway, a good leader knows when to lead and when to follow. What I mean by that is I'm the head of a household of 4 kids. And there are days where my kids don't even know it. And they're telling me, they are giving me wisdom that I will get into situations and I'm just not quite sure what to do. And my kids will say something. Even my 5-year-old daughter will say something that will literally, I go, wow. So a good leader knows when to lead and when to follow. Sometimes it's okay to step back and say, hey, I don't know what to do. I need help. Yes, this is my situation, but I need help. My case, I am in an open case with CPS right now as we speak. It's going to be closed next month in January. And I have literally taken the reins of this case, but there are times where I've had to step aside and say, I need help. So in your situation, know when you need to lead. That means you advocate for yourselves, but know when to step back and say, hey, I turned my phone off too. Anyway, say, hey, I need help. Next life lesson I've learned. The battle is the Lord's. You will find in life that you will find yourself in situations where it feels as if God is saying, go, fight. I'm with you. And then the outcome is not what you expect. And you're like, God, what happened here? I did what you said. This is not what was supposed to happen. Maybe, just maybe, you weren't supposed to win that battle, but you were supposed to learn something from it. That's been a huge theme in my life for 2 years now. I have been in a lot of, let's say, spiritual battles. I've been in a lot of emotional battles. Before I came to St. Helens, I was, like I was telling you guys, I was in rehab. I went to church one night, and this gentleman said to me, here I am, I'm homeless, I'm jobless, I'm in rehab. And he said to me, God has a plan for your life, and it's going to be for the way you're wired and for the way you're wounded. I had no clue what that man was saying. 2 weeks later, I get a call from CPS. We took your kids. They are in foster care. And the mother of your children is in the hospital for trying to commit suicide. So I went upstairs. We have a study room upstairs in this rehab that I was at. And I got down on my knees and I said, God, I don't know what to do, but you will fix this. That's literally what I said to him. I remember that. I don't know what to do, but you will fix this. That battle that I had began with my addictions didn't end the way I thought it would, but it prepared me for what I'm doing now. And that's why I'm telling you, the battle is the Lord's. I did not finish rehab. I ended up going to get my kids. This is why I'm here in St. Helens. But because I was obedient to God, and he said, go fight this battle, I have my kids back, all four of them. Another point. Forget, this is going to sound crazy, but I'm telling you the truth. Forget anger management. Learn. Let me read what I wrote here. Learn to manage your aggression. You understand what I'm saying? Anger is a natural human emotion. It's what you do with it. That's what you need to manage. I am learning that almost daily, especially with my kids. They have been through so much. And as a parent, you all know, as parents, you all know, it is easy to get angry. But what you do with it is what counts. Admit your faults. To yourself and to others. That is probably the hardest thing to do, especially when I'm standing here on a stage, or even to my kids. But I'm telling you, I get more respect from my kids for saying I don't know, for saying I am sorry that I am a drug addict in recovery, for saying I know and identify how you feel. And yes, son, it was my fault, and I am sorry. And then lastly, God is guiding you whether you want him to or not. I am literally here today because of the guidance of God and no other reason. None. It's because of the guidance of God. Even when I was an atheist, God was still guiding me. I went through a 2-year period of literally being an atheist, and he was still right there, weaving my story, directing me gently, sometimes firmly, but he was still right there the whole time. I went from an adopted child to white parents, to a homeless man, to being in prison to standing here in front of you giving my testimony with a beautiful woman, my 4 kids, and telling you that God is the good shepherd. Thank you.
Thank you, David. I'd like to ask you to stand with me. We're going to do another song to close this. But I want to give you a chance if you'd like to pray with me, or by even just, you don't have to pray with me. God hears you anyway. But I just feel like I don't want you to miss, if God's saying something today, if he's been a shepherd in your life, maybe in a hard time, maybe he's challenged and he had to pull out that shepherd's staff and, the thing with the hook where they would grab the sheep and pull it out of the bushes, pull it out of danger. God may have had to do something in your life that you wonder, how could God love me and let this happen? Let me go through that. Let me be in that place. I just really want to encourage you today. I appreciate what you said, David, that you can look back at the choices and the mistakes that have been made, and yet God still loved me all the way through all those things. Let me pray for you. Lord, I ask that you would be in this moment, that you would hear the voice, the one that seeks you, the one that is broken or hurting, angry, distant. God, you know all things. And I pray that as you promised, today, if we will seek you, we will be found by you. I pray that each one that would seek you would be found. In Jesus' name, amen. Go ahead and meet you guys.
Oh, how I need your grace, more than the words can say. Jesus, I come. Jesus, I come. In all my weaknesses, you are my confidence. Jesus, I come. Jesus, I come, and I will rise, stand redeemed, heaven open over me, to your name eternally, endless glory I will bring. Oh, what amazing love. We need your cleansing flood. Jesus, I come. Jesus, I come. In every broken place, you are my righteousness. Jesus, I come. Jesus, I come, and I will rise, stand redeemed, heaven open over me, to your name eternally, endless glory.
thank you for this day, Lord, and I thank you for everyone that you brought here today. And I ask that you would speak to each one of us and bring forth from us the words that we have stored in our heart and help us to see how it applies to our lives and how we can use it to follow you. I just ask that you would bless this coming week of everyone here today. In your name, amen.